Matthew 26, 72 through 75 into the chapter. Okay. Again, he denied it with an oath. So this is after them accusing him of being linked to the Nazarene, Jesus of Nazarene, which maybe the dialect told at this point, the way they speak, because it points to that. I do not know this man. So he's swearing with an oath. He's breaking a vow, giving a deliberate vow to God that he knows is untrue, which in some context goes to bearing a false witness, which is against the Ten Commandments on some level. Jesus taught against making vows because who are we to keep the vows? And either way, his oath was probably swearing on something that he shouldn't have, regardless, considering that he knew he's breaking it. It was just unwise, but it showed his desperation not to be involved in this group because he knew that the same results would be with him, which later it would be. Verse 73. A little later, the bystanders came up and said to Peter, "You certainly are one of them too. You are for your accent reveals it." So by the way he speaks, and this translation used accents, but I think it was more of the terms he was saying. The mannerisms he was using, the phrases, how he carried himself. When we come to Jesus, over time, people should be able to see by the way we talk and the way we act. And I think Jesus' influence was seen in Peter to where they knew he has to be. And it's also likely that one of these three denies that they actually knew, okay, don't you look like that guy who was following around Jesus? You look very similar to him type thing, So it wasn't undeniable at this point. They knew he was one of Jesus' disciples. They may have not known him by name, but they knew who he carried around with him. And as we live as Christians, people should know that we have fellowship with God. We have that relationship by the way we act and the way we carry ourselves and the way we speak. Because it's a growth, and people should also be seeing that growth. And it is our testimony. It would help bring others to the Lord and use us as a vessel to do that. Verse 74. Then he started to curse and to swear, "I don't know the man." Then the rooster crowed. So at this point, cursing, he probably ridiculed and was pretty hard on these people. Cursing does not imply foul language, yet it doesn't imply that he wasn't using it. It's more like he was cursing their children type thing that we see biblical curses about how all different types of things, they're always in the negative, always try to put people down. Sometimes, usually it's their descendants, sometimes it's that their field won't produce crops. Either way, this is most likely the type of curse Peter's putting on them. It's to put down the people, and it's to separate himself from Christ, because Christ was to bless people. He warned people. He wanted to save people. So this was opposite of the characteristic Peter would later become. So he was, in a way, being not true to who he was to distinguish himself from Jesus. And sometimes when we reject our calling for the Lord and reject where He's trying to grow us, we reject who we are. And that's what Peter was doing. He was rejecting who he became for his own. In a way, he was accepting his flesh and denying the Spirit. Verse 75. And Peter recollected the word that Jesus had spoken, "Before the rooster crows, you will deny me 3 times." And going outside, he cried bitterly. So one of the things that I'd like to bring up with this is when Jesus denied this, they were having that when Jesus mentioned this, him denying him, they were having dinner. So most likely it would have been assumed that they would have later went to sleep. It probably wouldn't have been assumed at this time Peter would have been up all night. And considering they went in for prayer and it was probably late by the time they went out, Peter wouldn't have assumed. But that's the thing. The Lord knows what's going to happen. We got to trust in Him. But we got to use that to draw us to Him. Not be scared of what He has and run away. Peter would receive mercy and grace. But the word of the Lord came true. And the word of the Lord always comes true. We just got to seek His mercy and grace and guidance to get us through life. Draw us closer to Him.